What's happening, everyone? Welcome back for another episode of the Chamber Podcast. Boy, do we have an excellent show in store for you today. Joining me in studio is Mark, JT, Sarafa from Pop Daddy Snacks. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us, Rob. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rob.
I couldn't be more excited for today's show. So, Mark, my first exposure to meeting you was we were at the Livingston Economic Forum. It was just under a month ago, I think.
Yep.
And you were one of the featured speakers on the panel there, and I got to listen to the Pop Daddy Snacks story because you guys just crossed 10 years. Is that right?
Yep.
Excellent.
Exactly.
So people aren't tuning in to listen to me talk. So I want to turn this over to you guys so we can get the story of how this amazing brand came to be here in Livingston County. So I don't know, Mark or JT, who wants to kick off the story, but I think I just want to hear the origin story of how all of these things that are sitting on the table right now came into existence.
All right. So a couple directions I could take this, but I'll just start real quick. So we, when I graduated from college, I spent 4 years at Coca-Cola, 9 years at Frito-Lay. I spent 12 years in the bottled water industry. And then I switched jobs. I took one of those offers that you couldn't refuse that I should have refused. And I went into media sales, and I was horrible at it. And we parted ways after 4 months. Prior to that, for my 40th birthday, my family bought me a popcorn popper because I was eating way too much microwave popcorn every day, and we started reading about how unhealthy it was. So we started experimenting with different popcorn and different oils, and we found a red popcorn kernel that was grown on a farm in Ann Arbor, and we popped it in olive oil and sprinkled it with sea salt, and people just loved it. It was small and crunchy and didn't get stuck in your teeth, and my wife came up with the idea of starting to sell it at farmers markets, just to teach our kids how to start a business. So we created a label. I bought a bigger machine. We started making it in our basement. And then I had lost my job, and my wife said, well, you have all this experience and great retail connections. Why don't you see if somebody will carry your popcorn while you're looking for another job? So that's the real fast origin story. So we started as a popcorn company. We again went to farmers markets. We sold it at street fairs, and when we were trying to build the company out, that's really how we fed the family for several years, just selling on the street basically. And then we got a license in a small bakery about a mile from our house in Highland, Michigan. We then went to some retailers I had good relationships with in my previous businesses, and Bush's supermarkets gave us a 3-store test. Hiller's at the time gave us a 3-store test, but they were then bought by Kroger. And then I had a friend that owned Picnic Basket Market in Plymouth, and he put us in. So we had 7 stores, got licensed, started making popcorn. We started with our original that you have there in front of you, as well as a kettle corn, were our first 2 items. We were making them in plastic bags, tying them with a bread tie, and slapping labels on them. And that's how it started. And then I would take my kids, I would drop JT off at a store, my wife off at a store, my daughter off at a store, and we'd all sample stores, those 7 stores every weekend. We were there just sampling and getting people to try the product and taste it. And little by little, we went into all the Bush's stores, and then we went to all the Hiller stores. And then Kroger gave us a 30-store test, and that was the big break. And then they put us in all their stores after about a year and a half. So after the first year in 2013, we were in about 143 stores, and it just kind of started growing from there.
So I want to pivot over to JT for a minute. So how old were you in 2013?
I was 13.
You're 13.
Yeah,
so
13
I
years old.
really am dying to know your perspective of watching all of this grow over the last 10 years. So what was it like when you're like, hey, Dad's making popcorn, to, hey, we're in 3 stores, to now we're everywhere. So what was that like inside your mind watching that?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely happening during like my, very formative years of my life. And it's been a really great experience. I mean, seeing him do what he's done and, be a business owner has definitely shaped like my view of the world and like what I want to do in it and in my own career. And it's definitely inspired me to like, want to work with him and just like be around him as much as I can, because him owning, and starting this business from the ground up, he's learned so much and has been through so much. And for me and my sister to like watch that and be a part of it has been a fantastic experience. And he always like, sometimes he'll say like, when things gets tough, he might like doubt like, why did I do this? And then me and my sister will always reassure him like like, don't worry, like, we're happy that you did this, and we wouldn't rather have it anyway. Cause sometimes, he'd be home, we'd come home from school and he'd be at the shop popping popcorn when most dads would be home. That experience was definitely helped shape my life and my sister's life as well.
What was unique about it was, well, first of all, JT always said he was the cute kid selling the popcorn at the farmers markets. He takes credit for so many people buying it early on, because him and my sister were the kids at the farmers market and at the booth selling it all the time. But one of the neat things about the experience was I always worked a lot, whether it was for somebody else or for myself. But the hours were just a little crazy when we're starting off. So we would go to the shop and pop late at night till 1 a.m. We had neighbors coming in and helping when we had big orders. And but I would always, if he had a basketball game or a lacrosse game, I would leave. I'd go see it. I'd go have dinner with them, and then I'd go back to the shop. So it gave me some freedom to do those sort of things as well. So even though I was working a lot of hours, I had the ability to, I didn't miss anything really at the time.
Yeah. It gave us great experiences too, like growing up, learning the sales pitch for the popcorn, selling it at farmers markets. We were there pretty much every weekend at farmers markets in the summer, selling the popcorn, and just being like a 13-year-old learning how to sell popcorn taught me a lot. And then also working in the production facility during summers in high school and summers in college, it taught me, how a real business works from the ground up. So it gave me a lot of experiences that I think a lot of other kids didn't have, and it really forced me to do that type of stuff.
And then I had my, my wife Erin at home, just taking care of everything, and then her hands were always ready to come in and help whenever needed as well. But we had a good balance going between the two of us, which really helped a lot.
So what was that moment in time where you're like, all right, I'm definitely going to start this company? Walk me through that moment when you're like, all right, we're going to do it.
I'd lost my job, so I left the bottled water business, which was fantastic. I had a great job and could still be there today. Took an opportunity elsewhere that didn't quite work out. And so while I was looking to get back in the food and beverage industry, my wife had suggested, let's start this business. So we went and got in some stores, and then we got licensed in the facility. I said, well, we need some more equipment. And so I was like, all right, the lease was month to month. I wasn't stuck in anything, at least a small place with my friend. So I went to try and find a bagging machine and a scale and a bag sealer. And so I went to Chicago. I called my friend John, who got let go from the same company I did on the same day. And he drove down there with me because he wasn't doing anything either at the time. And we looked at this bagging machine, and I told my wife I was going to take money out of our 401k because I didn't have any money to pay for this. So I put money into our bank account from our 401k, and we went and met this company, and we liked the machine. And, I called my wife. My heart was pounding at about 1 million miles an hour. And I said, okay, if I write this check, it's, around $23,000. And I said, we're all in. And she said, do it. And that was it. I won't say I never looked back, because I did look back several times. It was a tough road, definitely for, the first 6-7 years, a lot of ups and downs. But
yeah, I wonder, have you asked your wife, like, what made her so confident in that decision where you're like filled with anxiety, the heart's pounding, and she's like, do it?
Yeah.
What made her so steadfast in that?
She said she just believed in me more than I believed in myself. I never, people call me an entrepreneur, but I don't really I feel like an entrepreneur is someone who's got, like, would have maybe sold this business already and went into something else, or got somebody else to run the business and, opened up another shop or restaurant. I don't have the next best idea. I don't know what I want to do next. I don't really consider myself an entrepreneur. I just feel like really it was kind of her idea and kind of pushed me into it. Without her support, we would have never done it. Yeah, I don't consider myself a true entrepreneur.
What do you consider yourself?
I always tell people I'm a sales guy at heart. I think that's what's driven the business, really. I've learned manufacturing and food safety and operations along the way, but I had a decision to make a year ago. Either I hire another sales guy and I run the facility, or I hire a guy to run the facility and I stay in sales and run the business that way. And so that's what we did. We hired an operations guy. His name's Brian. He's fantastic, and he takes care of everything so that JT and myself and our other sales guy John can go on the road. And we do 26 shows a year right now. I've got a lot of frequent flyer miles. It's fun traveling together. My wife goes a lot. She's a great salesperson at the shows that we do. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I know you probably don't consider yourself an entrepreneur, but from my perspective, having built something from absolutely nothing, it's never going to be a solo mission.
Yeah.
You know, you're always going to have a wife, support system, the kids, all that, but that is entrepreneurial. That is creating something that wasn't there before. So it's been absolutely fantastic to hear the story.
Thank you.
I know it hasn't always been aces, right? It's never always going to turn up, you know, completely roses throughout the entire process. Walk me through some of the things that were setbacks for the company.
Oh boy, there's a lot of them. I got to try and think about a few, but we were able to get into Meijer stores originally. I'm trying to think of the year. I can't really remember, but it was probably 2015, and we really were kind of cruising. It was really good business for us, and a new buyer came in about a year later, and then just completely discontinued us. And they were about 50% of our business at the time.
Wow.
And so we had real talks. I was talking to my older brother, and I was talking about just kind of liquidating at that time. And we were still doing 50% of the volume, but it wasn't really enough to keep the doors open and pay the bills and that sort of thing. We had serious talks about just liquidating and shutting her down back in 2015, 2016. But my brother fortunately came in and as an investor, and we were in the middle of this rebranding. Our new packaging. We obviously this packaging you see today is not what we started with. So we were kind of evolving at the time from a packaging standpoint. And so I really felt like the new packaging was going to change, and we were working on pretzels at the time as well, which we didn't have. And so he came in and really saved the company at the time.
I'm curious I've never been in the food and beverage industry and been in that buyer chair. Did they give justification as to why they discontinue a product at Meijer or no?
It's just turns, or they, got more money from there's a lot of shelf space that's paid for and some that's open, and the stuff that's open for smaller companies is not a lot of space. So it just, every retailer has their own reasons why, but generally it's sales per linear foot on a shelf.
I see.
What drives most of it.
So as the company get bigger, did Meijer come and make another run at you guys?
So, another buyer came in, and we were able to present our popcorn again, and we had a few more flavors at the time, some unique flavors, and it's really innovation has been the driver of our success overall, being a smaller company. So that's what really got us back in to Meijer, and that's what's kept us there since then. So.
Okay. So JT, what's it been like seeing the product evolve? So obviously when you start with something, you have the original popcorn here, and then as time goes on, I'm sure everyone is made aware we have to diversify. You have to have new products. You have to have pretzels and all these other, going from Pop Daddy popcorn to Pop Daddy snacks and expanding the line. What was that like from an operations process?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about the origin of the whole company and how we started as a popcorn company. But the pretzels is actually a whole another story. So the pretzels came about 3 years into the popcorn business, and my aunt came up and visited us from Iowa.
Pam.
Aunt Pam, my mom's cousin, came and visit us from Iowa, and she brought these delicious seasoned pretzels that she just made in her kitchen, and they were fantastic. And then when they went back to Iowa, my dad and my sister started making them in our kitchen just for our school lunches. I was in middle school at the time still. And I could trade those pretzels for anything at the lunch table that I wanted. They were so good. So my dad took them to work. The employee said, hey, we should start selling these too. So that's how the pretzel business was born. And pretzels is actually 90% of our business today. So the pretzels really took off in the last 6 years, and is actually a majority of our business. So it's been a big pivot. But it's worked out, and our popcorn business is still growing, and it's still strong, and we're still coming out with new popcorn flavors. But the pretzels have really taken off.
What do you attribute to the pretzel business exploding like it has over the last 5 years?
So I'll tell you a quick story. So we came out with 2 flavors. We started, so our peppercorn ranch, which is called today, was our original. That's basically the flavor that Pam left for us, and then we came out with a garlic parmesan. And so when I started taking these to different retailers, they're like, Mark, the pretzel category is been down for 5 years in a row. We're shrinking. I have 12 feet of pretzels. We're moving it to 8 feet. I don't have any room for pretzels. And so I left a bunch of pretzels there with them. This was Meijer again. And he said, I love your pretzels. I've tasted them. I think they're fantastic. He goes, but my answer is no right now. I don't have room for them. So 3 weeks went by, and I get an email from him with, in the industry, they're new item forms. When you get a new item in a retailer, you got to fill out all the information on these forms. He sent them to me, and I called him. I said, what are these? He said, I took all the samples you left back to my office, and everyone told me we had to carry them. And so that was our first big break in the pretzels was Meyer. And so, and what we learned is innovation in pretzels has been important. So what happened in the pretzel categories with us bringing out seasoned pretzels, and you're probably familiar with Dot's pretzels, between the two of us really added some innovation to the category. Dot's obviously the leader in the category. Now they became very successful with their original flavored pretzel, and it's the number one selling pretzel in the country. But I always love telling the story. So we were in Meyer before Dots came in, and I was a little worried when they called me and they told me we were putting Dots in right next to you guys, and I was like, oh, okay, no problem. Not that I was going to stop it or anything, right? But our sales actually went up when Dots was there, and so what's happening is they along with us have brought people back to the pretzel category, and so we're buying a lot more pretzels, and we've been the beneficiary of that.
Well, it's interesting how trends change. Like I have 2 kids that are both under 10, and they prefer pretzels to chips, the flavored pretzels, and it's interesting how these trends come along. And that's why I mentioned in the last 5 years to see that category just explode, where now there's other people, some of the mainstream brands trying to get in on it and do their own thing. And it's like, hey, you weren't here. You just calm down.
So, earlier I said I spent 9 years at Frito, and so we had a whole consumer insights team at Frito-Lay. And so the nickname of the pretzel consumer was, Bubba or Joe Sixpack, because that's who was buying pretzels, 15, 20 years ago. That was it. What I really feel we've done is we've opened up the pretzel category to females and children with all of our different flavors. Smoked Gouda does great on charcuterie boards, and the cinnamon sugar you see there. And I feel like we brought a whole nother consumer to the category, which I think is very important for our growth as well.
I can't get over the names that you call. What were the names again that you called, or that Frito called their?
Joe Sixpack or Bubba.
I love it.
Yes.
We need to have more of those nicknames in the food and beverage industry. So I like that. So walk me through the products that we have on the table here, so we can cut to wide, and we'll show all the viewers what we have here.
So I'll start with the popcorn. So the original popcorn in the red bag there is our best seller. It's made with a red kernel. It's grown on a farm about 15 miles from here in Ann Arbor, and the farmer used to deliver to us 3,000 pounds at a time, but now we buy too much and we go pick it up in a 26-foot truck from directly from his farm.
Okay.
And
so that's this guy here.
That's that. So we all of our popcorn's popped in 100% pure olive oil, and that one is just 3 ingredients. If you look at the back, it's completely clean. It's red popcorn, olive oil, and sea salt, and it's our number 1 seller.
Wow.
And then we have our butter popcorn here, which is our number 2 or 3 seller. It's a natural butter flavor, again, popped in olive oil with the red kernel. We also make a kettle corn and a white cheddar, all fantastic popcorn flavors and very unique. The pretzels, we have 12 varieties. On the table here, we have a cinnamon sugar. We have 3 sweet pretzels, a cinnamon sugar, the Dutch apple pie, which I think you said someone was eating out in your lobby.
Yeah.
And maple and brown butter, which is part of our international flavor line. So the maple and brown butter represents Canada. We have our Mexican street corn here, which is doing incredibly well in the market. And then we have a Thai honey curry. So we came out with 3 white bag products that we consider our international line, all doing very, very well.
That's incredible.
And then we have a beer cheese here, closest to me, which is actually doing really, really well also. Yep.
So do you guys have a favorite product of your own, like a personal favorite that you go to?
People always ask me that, and what I say is that it always changes. And right now it's the yellow mustard. Yellow mustard pretzel that my dad just put on the table. Yeah. And what's funny is that used to be my least favorite flavor, and now it's my favorite. And I hear that all the time, that like someone will not like a flavor, and then it would be their least favorite flavor, and then it will turn into their most favorite flavor. So it's just like we have so many flavors, and they're all so unique that like really you can flip between them and never get tired of them.
Yep. I'm an original popcorn guy and a yellow mustard pretzel, but Mexican street corn is a very close number 2 now.
Okay.
But
Excellent.
our overall seller, our best seller is, and here I go, and I'm reaching the bag again, is our garlic parmesan.
Okay. That's
our
the best seller?
That's the best seller across the country, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So what are the main stores that you're in that people can pick up the product from?
So Meijer, Kroger, Bush's, Papa Joe's, I'm trying to think out here, BG's. Who am I missing, JT?
Our website.
Yes.
So you guys do direct-to-consumer buys as well?
Yep. All the Jonas markets carry us out in this area.
Oh, very nice. Yep. Okay. Excellent. So what's been the most rewarding thing for you from a business owner perspective as you've grown this company over the last 10 years?
That's a tough question. I always feel like we have such a long way to go. I don't feel like I'm very grateful for all the help I've had, and I guess that's been the most rewarding. That my family, my brothers and sisters have been supportive, both financially and encouragement wise. I have a lot of friends that have helped me, both financially and encouragement wise, or especially early on. My brother, my oldest brother is an investor now, but my brother that's just a year older than me co-signed for a loan for us. All risk, no reward. Back when we first started, and just a couple other friends who have loaned me money that we've since been able to pay back, and I just grateful, really. Know how many friends we have and people that trust us, my family and I, to do the right thing, and we've been able to pay everybody back, and so far. So it's it's nice to see the business growing. It's we employ almost 100 people now. My wife's done a tremendous job hiring. We have a full-time HR manager, but my wife is really the star as far as recruiting and bringing people on board. And then just having JT didn't say, but he was working for Nestle. Graduated from Michigan State, went to work for Nestle, and we poached him from Nestle and brought him back to Michigan to work for us as we continue to grow. So working for my family, with my family, is probably the most rewarding thing, though, and having the rest of my extended family involved in different ways.
I love it. JT, same question.
Really, it's just been the experiences that has come with it. Being able to travel with my parents around the country and show the product off to the world is something that I don't take for granted. The fact that I'm able to be here right now, sitting next to my dad on this podcast, instead of working for a big corporate company in a different state is something I also don't take for granted. So it's been a great experience, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
I love it. So last question, the name of the company. I got to hear how that was tossed around and how everyone agreed that that's what we're going to roll with.
So I keep telling people I got to make up a better story, but so the truth is, we were going to start selling our product to the farmers markets and create labels. And so I told everybody, we got to come up with a name, start thinking of a name. Let's run some names by everybody. So I was still employed at the time when we were doing the farmers market thing. So I was driving home from work one day and I just started running names through my head, and Pop Daddy popped into my head, and I called my wife, and I think the kids were home at the time, and I said, what about Pop Daddy? And they're all like, that's it. And that's the story. It popped in my head. I called them. They all agreed, and that's how it happened.
I love it. It's catchy. So it's one of those things when you hear it, it's like, that makes sense.
It's just the natural name for the product. It's never going to be anything else. It's just natural.
I love it. Well, I appreciate you both for coming on the show today. It certainly means a lot. So I'll make sure for the listeners, all your information, how to purchase online, all your social media, all that stuff's going to be in the show notes for the podcast.
It was great being here. We really appreciate it. We love telling our story, and appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming in and doing that. I appreciate you both.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, that's going to wrap up this week's edition of the Chamber Podcast. I appreciate you watching. We'll catch you next week. Take care.